Hello and welcome to today's video. Now I seem to be saying this a lot, or at least I think it. This video is going to be a little bit different. So, a friend of mine picked up this adorable Funko Pop T-Rex, Tyrannosaurus Rex, for her son. Okay. Well, this little guy, like all Funko Pops, has a huge head. So when you set him down, he falls over. Now, Funko, being hopefully a decent company, as far as I know, included a clear base. Great. So you just put him on the base, he stands, right? Well, if you notice, the base's peg is broken off. So that means the options are to have it so this guy just falls down, or we glue him back onto the base, right? No. Me, being a person that likes to solve problems that weren't necessarily my own, decided a while back, when she asked me about this, that I would make a custom base for this Funko Pop T-Rex. But the problem is I have more ideas than time. So I kind of, put it on the back burner. This guy's been hanging out in my art room for a while now. But then all of a sudden, I found myself with a lot more time on my hands to work on art, which I'm going to take as a positive, and I'm going to make a Funko Pop custom T-Rex stand for this little guy. So I'm going to make it out of polymer clay. I'm going to get it all done, and then we're going to see if this guy will stand on my stand. Or base. I think I called it a base on the thumbnail. We'll call it a base. So we're going to see if this guy stands on my custom Funko Pop T-Rex base. Alright, let's get started. Okay, so I have the little T-Rex here, and he definitely needs a little stand made. So I'm going to use him to make some footprints in there. I have the old stand, but I don't think I need that anymore, so I'll get rid of that. And I'm going to go ahead and trim off that little peg that's sticking out that broke off in his foot. So I'm just using my X-Acto knife to just trim that down to make his foot about as flat as possible. So when I do that indentation, it looks like the little dinosaur foot. So right now I'm just going to soften up some brown Primo Sculpey, and then I'm going to mix in some black. I wanted it to be a little bit darker than that raw sienna is. So I thought I just wanted like kind of a darker mud for this guy to be walking in. So I'm just doing kind of an oval shape. I don't want an exact pattern. And then I'm just using a ball tool to give it a little bit of a texture, get rid of those fingerprints and stuff. So now I'm just taking the Funko Pop, doing some impressions for the claws, come on. So now I'm doing another one back there. And then I'm going to go ahead and redo the ones. I want to make sure these are deep enough and, really just give him some support when he stands on the base. And then I also made some little feet that looks like little chicken footprints in front of it there. So it looks like there's some smaller animals. And then I'm going in and adding some texture to those footprints because the Funko Pop's feet are pretty flat. So I want it to have some, it looks like, it would have texture from the foot stepping there. Now I'm just taking some gray granite. I'm going to make some rocks. Now that one's a little bit in the way of the foot, so I'm going to move it up to the front. And I'm just going to add a few more. I'm going to make kind of a cluster of rocks. I went ahead and mixed in some of the brown clay to give me a little bit of a darker rock. Just wanted to have some variety, so they weren't all the same shade. And then I just have some black mixed in with some gray granite to give me a little bit of a darker rock here. And I think that just looks, kind of a nice grouping of some rocks. So now what I want to do is I want to dig out a little crevice with the ball tool, and I want to put some liquid Sculpey there to make kind of like a little puddle. Since I want this to be mud, I want it to look like it rained recently, and I thought that would be a nice touch. And so now I'm just going to take some more gray granite and put a bunch of little pebbles in there. And my thought is when I put that liquid Sculpey in there and it bakes, it's going to be a little bit translucent and you can kind of see it. So I'm just going to get those all covered up, and I'm going to try to fill that whole area up so it looks like it's pooled up with some water. Now I'm just taking a little more gray granite. I'm going to give it another rock, but not quite as far over, so that way it's not in the way of that tail. And I thought about putting a crack in it, and then that didn't look very good, so I went ahead and took that out. Now I'm just using my ball tool to spread the liquid clay out a little bit. Add another rock to that back one, and another little rock. And I thought that was a nice grouping. Now I'm just going to take some of my green clay, soften this up, and I'm going to make some vegetation. So these are just going to be some kind of like big blades of grass to go in front of him, just to add a little color to the base. Give your eyes something, different to look at, add some variety to it. I thought just doing a mud base is kind of blah. So I thought, what if I add, a little vegetation here. So I took the ball tool, did an indention where I want to put each blade, and then trimmed off the bottom of the blade so they're nice and flat, and then stuck them into those indentions. So I'm just going to finish these up with a few more. And I had a lot of fun doing this, and I, as I'm doing it, then I'm thinking of all these other ideas of things I could do. So I definitely think I will try this for some other things, either Funko Pops or other action figures or anything that, would benefit from having like a little diorama base. I think that's something that adds a lot to your display, is if you have some kind of base or surrounding for it to be in that, just enhances the whole display of it. A lot of statues, will have some kind of base. So, I think that adds to it. So I'm pretty happy with how this looks. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of go over the texture some with the ball tool. And then I'm going to go ahead and bake it according to package instructions. So the base is baked and cooled. And now I'm going to add a Sculpey gloss coat to it. I figured if this is mud, it's going to look wet. Plus I wanted that spot with the translucent clay to have more of a wet look to it. And then I figured, well, if it's been raining out, everything's going to look wet. So it's just a lot easier just to cover the entire piece with the Sculpey gloss coat. So I'm just going to go in, try to get every little crevice. Went around those blades of grass several times just because of the way they were angled. I wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything that was going to be visible. I'm sure underneath there's probably a few little spots that aren't quite covered, but it's going to be good enough. Now I'm going to go ahead and let it dry overnight, and then we'll take a look at the finished piece. Alright, so here is our finished custom base for a Funko Pop T-Rex. Overall, I'm pretty happy with it. I like the gloss coat on it. I think that definitely makes that brown clay look like mud. Plus, I figured if there's mud, that means it's rained recently or there's a lot of moisture. So I was okay putting just, glossing everything. And I think it just makes everything has a nice wet. Also gives it a little more of a plastic look to kind of match the Funko Pop maybe a little bit more. The only thing I'm not 100% happy with is my water puddle here. I was hoping to be a little more translucent. I've had some success with that liquid clay, but I think I used too much here. So I think next time I'll just do a thinner layer of it if I do another base with water and see how that looks. Or I could wait till it's all done and use some clear resin. And then I could even put some color in there. And I could probably put color in this too, but this was just easier to do it with this one. And it looks okay, just not 100% the result I was looking for. I am really happy with the rocks. Rocks aren't very exciting, but I think they add a nice touch to it. and just gives a little more detail and makes the piece a little more interesting. I've got my little extra footprints there. And then we have these two prints is where he's going to stand, and then I have that extra, or the third footprint of his, like he's, you know, walking, and that's a footprint he left. So get this base visible here. We got our T-Rex. We're going to set him in here. All right, look at there. Pretty happy how that turned out. Oh, he's not quite tight in there, but it should still let him stand. The other thing I might want to do, or have her do when I give this back to them, is you could put a little bit of poster tack on his foot, so when he is on his stand, that'll support him a little bit more. And you'll notice this one here doesn't go quite as deep. If you kind of push it, it kind of puts him off center, so I think my clay might have distorted a little bit. So we're going to say it's mostly successful. I'll be realistic here. I am, you know, overall pretty happy with it. I definitely want to do some more bases for toys, not necessarily ones they sink down into, but just to give them more of a diorama feel. And I think this is a good look for this guy. And it would be fun to even do some bases that kind of connect. So we could do another base of like another dinosaur if he ever gets one to kind of match it up for him. All right, well, anyways, there is our Funko Pop T-Rex on a custom base made out of polymer clay. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to my channel. I post new videos weekly. I also do a weekly live stream. I do one on Sunday at 2 p.m. Central Daylight Time now, Central Time. And it's Let's Make a Monster live stream. And so my viewers help create the monster by giving me input on like what attributes the monster should have, like how many eyes, if he has horns or not, what his body shape is like, if he's got arms or legs, just all kinds of stuff. We have a lot of fun. So if you haven't already checked that out, please check out my Let's Make a Monster live stream. Again, that is every Sunday right now at 2 p.m. Central Time. All right, well, thank you so much for watching, and remember, never stop creating. Bye.